Tonight, the Broncos flex their lucky rabbit on the league. Can Jamal Fogarty get the Raiders out of a sticky situation? And will mass recruitment drives help the Bulldogs and the Sharks in 2022? Yes, hello, and welcome to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and today we begin our expedition into the previews of the first four NRL sides for this year, and we start off the Brisbane Broncos.
You know it's getting closer when we start the NRL lineups. And yes, Brisbane, well, where do we start, to be honest? They're better than 2020, but still not as good as what they are used to.
If we define better as getting more than 3 wins, then yes, I suppose we can say they did better.
Yes.
But not by much. And it didn't look that way to begin. The first 2 months, only 2 wins, and one of them was against the Dogs, which is not saying much.
No, and anyone could have beaten the Dogs, except for the Dragons.
Or the Tigers. And the Sharks.
Well, that too. Well, yes.
We'll get into that a little bit later on. But look, the Broncos are getting smacked from try line to try line. But I'll tell you what is surprising. Some of the teams they beat, especially towards the back end of the season, because I think that round 11 clash against the Roosters at the cricket ground, literally everyone was surprised by.
Yeah, it certainly was a bit of a surprise there. Like literally no one saw that one coming. But they somehow pulled it off, although I think the Roosters were a bit over strength as well. So that would have played a bit of a part in that. But hey, no excuses for the Roosters there.
Yeah, that was just a game that I don't think anyone saw coming. But the back 2 months of the season, I think that's when everyone started to take notice of the Broncos. It's true, they finished with a 4-4 record, but looking back over the results, 8-point loss to Newcastle, 1 point loss to the Roosters the following week, and they beat Newcastle in the last round.
Yes, they did.
And some of these games, they were getting pretty close. It's like the results could have gone either way. They should have beaten the Tigers, but they didn't. Almost upset the Panthers, but Penrith just clung on. And then the results against the Knights and the Roosters. Both of them, I should say.
Yes. Yeah, it's just they were coming good at the back end of the season, but it was just that the majority of the season they weren't there.
Well, they weren't. I mean, we both knew what Kevin Walters was walking into. First head coaching gig in over 11 years. It wasn't bound to go well, but somehow he's managed to make the Broncos look a bit more respectable at the back end of the season, despite being anchored to the bottom 2 places for the majority of it.
Yeah, but it was going to take a while before he could get the players to do what he wanted to do. Like they still would have been down and out from the 2020 season, and they were slowly getting their confidence back throughout the season, and that's why they were so good come the end of last season.
It probably did also help that they had some of their better players available at the back end of the season. Katoni Staggs being one of them, because again, ACL, missing for the best part of a year, came back. Right. And they talked about him in the halves to start next year, or this year, I would say, but that hasn't necessarily come around on that front. And I think he is better in the centres.
I'd say he is too, because he's got the speed and all that. I don't see him playing anywhere but centre. Yeah, that's where he belongs, in the centres.
And with the players the Broncos have in the halves, I don't think he would have made it anyway. Because considering that he is one of the better centres in the game.
That is true, and if he moves to different position, he's going to be a while before he can find that form he was in while playing for the centres.
The standout player in this Broncos season, and to be fair, there wasn't a lot to choose from, but one that was absolutely consistent for them, Payne Haas.
Yet again.
In 20 appearances, 1 try, 68 tackle breaks, 10 offloads, and 3.361 on kilometers running. All up.
Wow.
Almost 3.4 Ks for a front row with his motor.
That is unbelievable. Unbelievable. It just shows that they've got the squad there, or like people like him in the squad, but when they're going well, he stood out above the rest, clearly.
The idea of these young players, and you just build them up and you build around them. You build a side for Payne Haas to absolutely monster opponents. Of course, they had to deal with yet more leaders leaving in their roster turnover. Alex Glenn, of course, being the big one going into retirement, as was Dale Copley, though he ended up at the Roosters at the back end. Anthony Milford bound for South Sydney, although there are questions of whether that could happen now. Brodie Croft leaving to join Salford. Danny Levi off to the Huddersfield Giants. Ethan Bollamore, or the only signing the Manly Sea Eagles have made to this point in time. I'm John Asiata, leaving for the Canterbury Bulldogs, although he would end up at the Lee Centurions. Matt Lodge and Reece Walsh were both released to the Warriors mid-2021, as well as Tom Dearden to the North Queensland Cowboys. Tavita Pangai Jr. joining the Bulldogs via Penrith. Xavier Coates off to the Melbourne Storm. Jesse R. offers again involving the Warriors, but this time on a season-long loan.
And you also got Carmichael Hunt's been released and Richie Canal also released.
And we also have to mention that Ben Teo this time has returned to retirement. Again. Not the first time.
No.
But what the Broncos have brought in, I think, has definitely raised eyebrows. The big one being Adam Reynolds from the South Sydney Rabbitoh. Those Billy Walters picked up from the West Tigers, as if there wasn't a bias in that one.
Yeah.
Branko Lee from the Melbourne Storm. Corey Jensen coming down from North Queensland. Ryan James coming up from the Canberra Raiders. Jordan Pereira from St George Illawarra. Premiership winning second rower Kurt Capewell, the Penrith Panthers. And probably the most interesting one of them all, aside from rookie hooker Logan Bayliss, Tamare Martin on a train and trial deal.
Yeah, that's a bit of a...
Despite retiring in 2019 with bleeding on the brain, he's now been given the medical all clear to take up a train and trial deal with the Broncos.
Which is brilliant to see, because he was one of the best players at the Cowboys. He had the potential. We could see him building into something massive. But then, unfortunately, the bleed on the brain cut his career short. Now
he's got a second chance, really.
Exactly. So it's really, really good to see his name back in amongst the squad of.
Hey, he could be a comeback. He could be one of the comeback stories of the year if he manages to get a full-time contract with Brisbane.
Oh, I certainly hope he does. If he keeps up if he goes, it's going to take a while before he gets back to his potential to where he was before he was retired medically. He will be one of the best young ones around.
Well, he's no spring chicken, but he's not exactly a senior player. Well, Getting back on to Adam Reynolds, he won't have to wait long to stare down his old club, the new captain of the Broncos, because the Broncos and the Rabbitohs are scheduled to play each other round one at Suncorp Stadium on Channel 9 broadcast free to air. So ultimately written with Reynolds in mind, but it's not the only game South Sydney have had a fixture drawn to their benefit.
Well, this game with Reynolds going to Brisbane, I had a theory that when the announcement was made that Reynolds was going to Brisbane, I thought, okay, Brisbane Rabbits round one straight away.
Because why not?
Exactly.
It's no different to the Roosters facing the Rabbitohs in round 3, because that conveniently is when Latrell Mitchell's 6-game ban's meant to end. No different to that.
No.
I think that game between the Broncos and the Rabbitohs, that's actually going to be a very interesting one, because rookie halfback versus grand final hero from a couple of years back. So I think that one could go either way.
It
Now their
could.
first trip to Sydney to face the Canterbury Bulldogs at a core stadium. Well, you know what I'm going to say about this one, right?
No.
Pity. So we'll leave it at that. Now Sunday afternoon in round 3, the Queensland Derby with North Queensland coming down from sunny Townsville on a Sunday afternoon, no less.
Interesting time slot. It's usually on a Friday night. You could say the matter of fact of that game, but
Well, I
Sunday
suppose
afternoon.
at the same time, the more family-friendly fixture might encourage a bigger derby crowd.
True.
First weekend of April sees them traveling just outside the city centre, really, to face the Warriors at their adoptive home of the Moreton Daily Stadium, Redcliffe, and they rounded off against the Roosters in round 5 on a Friday night. So, one grand final side, a semi-finalist, and 3 teams that didn't even make the top 8.
Yeah.
2 with top 8 ambitions at this present point. How do we grade that opening 5 rounds?
Obviously, the grand finalists and the semi-finalists are going to be the harder games, but the other ones will be, they could go either way because obviously Brisbane didn't make the finals themselves, and neither did the other teams that they played. So them was a bit harder to select. Although the Warriors one might be a bit interesting, I believe, with Sean Johnson being back, it might lean into the Warriors' favour, but who knows?
It definitely remains to be seen. And I think the big question is, can Adam Reynolds stand up to the pressure of being the Broncos' number 7? Because remember, not since Darren Lockyer has there been truly a dominant halfback at the Broncos. I mean, many people would probably say Peter Wallace, Ben Hunt. But
yeah,
Wallace and Hunt couldn't necessarily convert the Broncos' drought into a premiership victory at last.
Yes, that is true.
So that's the question. In the best case scenario for the Broncos, if absolutely everything goes right and Adam Reynolds delivers what he did at South Sydney, Broncos win the premiership. Or they finish top 4 or in the second best scenario. But that's my problem. Can they?
Well, you have to think. Adam Reynolds has also got the captaincy, so he's got the extra pressure on him as well, being the captain and of a club that he never played at before. And like you said, to try and stand up in the number 7 jersey, he's got a fair bit of pressure on him this season.
I would definitely say there is a fair weight of expectations because, of course, the Broncos, I described the last year, fallen powerhouse of the league. So they're going to try and work their way back up. And Reynolds is a big boost for the Broncos, but it's a matter of if they can get all these younger players they're bringing through, your Hetheringtons, your Rob Barties, your Stack, your Haas's, if they can give Reynolds the time and space to really just handle the kicking game. And then the other question is, who's going to play 5'8" with him? Is it going to be Martin or Albert Kelly or Tyson Gamble? Or even, in a pure amount of bias from the coach, is Billy Walters going to get a start at the Broncos?
Personally, I don't think so. Personally, well, it's going to come down to Gamble, Kelly, out of those 2. I reckon it might. I know Gamble's had experience, but he's still not. It's hard to get a read on because he's inconsistent. I know he hasn't had the best team around him as well, but I got a feeling that it might be Albert Kelly and Adam Reynolds lining up in round 1.
So you think Kelly Reynolds, the halves combination, come round 1?
Yes.
All right. Well, I honestly prefer Tyson Gamble because I like what I see in him.
But I also hope Tamari Martin gets a contract and is in there as well. If he gets that contract, then I'll change my mind and put Tamari Martin in there. But in the meantime, as Martin's on the training trial, I'm going to be Albert Kelly.
Well, we only have about a month and a half to wait, so yeah, not that long. Of course, I
No.
did mention that despite the Broncos getting better in the back half of the season, they need to be able to convert that first half. 80-minute performances is what they need to do. Performances like they did against the Knights and the Roosters, they need to be able to polish those. And it can't be just Adam Reynolds on his own. Someone else is going to step up with him and help polish those games off, whether that's New, Stags, even Gamble or Turpin, and especially with Payne Haas as well. But I think he could probably ice a game if it needs to be a big run or something like that.
Yeah. And
or try saving tackle.
Yeah. But you've also got Kurt Capel in there too. So he's quite capable as well.
Don't tell me you just made a bloody bad word pun.
No, I didn't.
Are you sure?
It wasn't intentional, okay? I didn't even think about it being a pun.
Wasn't intentional.
No, it wasn't. But
Right.
they've also, but losing the likes of Stags, Pengai, Glenn,
Stags isn't gone.
Asiata, not Stags, Coates. Sorry, Coates, Pengai, Glenn, and Bullimore. They're really big bosses as well.
I think there are capable forwards in and amongst it. Keenan Palacia could pull off a hit if asked to. Tom Flagler, when he returns back from suspension, I have no doubt that he will slide right back into the starting side, and Ryan James will be a valuable player off the bench as an experienced forward.
Yeah, Flagler need to
tone it down with the aggression.
Yes, exactly, because he was
because
in and out.
Kevy doesn't want him dining out with the judiciary every 2 weeks.
No, he does not.
All right, ladder time. Last year, the Broncos finished 14th on the ladder, beating the Cowboys on for and against. Only just, yeah. So the question is, where do they finish this year?
I've got them moving up the ladder, but don't think they're going to quite make the finals. Not this year, but maybe 2023 they will make the finals. So I've got them finishing in position at number 10 in 2022.
So you got them finishing 10th. Well, I'm going one below you. I think the Broncos are also moving up the ladder, but I think there's still a bit of polishing that needs to do to try and finish games off. So therefore, I will say the Broncos in 2022 finish 11th on the ladder.
There we go. It's that mid pack, as we saw coming into the finals last year, was way too hard to predict who was going to finish where.
Yeah, but we do what we do. That's what. It's only our opinions at the end of the day, but some are more right than others. Anyway, moving on. The Canberra Raiders. Well, the Raiders in 2021.
Let me just say, Ricky Stewart's going to be under a lot of pressure this year.
This was the biggest disappointment for me. The biggest disappointment.
Yeah.
Some of it was in their control. Other times it wasn't. I mean, you can't help losing Chance Nickel-Cookstad to a neck injury in round 5. You just can't.
No.
George Williams leaving halfway through.
There's still a bit something funny about that.
Well, maybe you should ask John Bateman or try and have a word in with James Hooper without trying to insult him for basically reporting exactly what happened.
No, but I still reckon there's something behind the scenes that hasn't been released to the public. I don't know what, but I still got that suspicion.
Well, as far as anyone was aware with George Williams, his partner was pregnant, he was feeling homesick, and he wanted out. And it got ugly. Plain and simple, it got ugly.
True, but when he was there, he played pretty well.
Oh, George Williams was going good guns. He was absolutely brilliant.
Especially with
the Raiders, they just went off the rails. Both of that together, it tore off into a downward spiral.
Quickly. Very, very quickly.
They were sitting comfortably 3-2 is not exactly comfortable, as I think I recall, but they were doing a lot better than a host of other sides and were gunning for the top 8. And then after round 5, it just went horribly wrong.
Yeah. With, like you said, Sean Nickel-Cookstad getting his neck injury in round 5, everyone thought he was gone, but for him to come back, wow. That kind of gave him a slight boost coming the end of the season.
That run from round 5 down to round 9, that really knocked the Raiders about. Lost out to the Panthers when they were down to about 15 men. They got blown off the park by Parramatta and then slipped into old 2017-18 habits in consecutive weeks against North Queensland, South Sydney, and Newcastle, where they were in positions to win games, but then just got run down in the second half.
Yeah, that's true. They just can't do that. They need to go back to their best when they made the grand final in 2019.
Yep.
Yep.
And I mean, Papali'i wasn't playing well, and neither was Josh Hodgson. They just simply weren't playing well. And the more losses they suffered, the worse it got for them.
Yeah.
They did rally at the back end, though, after moving to Queensland. It kicked into gear. Yeah, and it looked like, for a split second, they could have actually made the finals.
But they didn't. And if they did make the finals, they wouldn't have gone very deep, in my opinion.
It came very, very close. With a month left in the season, after beating the Dragons, they're sitting just inside the 8, fighting off the Titans and the Sharks for a place in the top 8. But then games against Melbourne, games against Manly and the Roosters, lose all of them, only winning against the Warriors. But that was it. The Raiders' season was done. Yeah, despite that remarkable turnaround, where they climbed back to as high as 9th, getting into the 8th, then falling out of it at the last hurdle.
Too little, too late, you could say. If you need to make the 8, you need to be in around the 8th, 9th, 10th position on the ladder, or even 7th, you could say, for the majority of the season. So you know what teams are going around you come the back end of the season, not come from like 12th up, like there or thereabouts. And work your way up.
It's not the first time, but it's just not an ideal strategy if you want to play the finals.
Yeah. You need to be around about 8th, 7th to 10th all season long. And then put your foot down when it really matters.
Timing is everything.
Yes. And the Raiders haven't got that right for a while.
Well, they didn't get it right last year, that's for sure. The other times they did get it right, but I think this will be a learning curve Ricky Stewart will take into consideration this preseason. Now, stand up for the Raiders this time, Jordan Rapana.
Yes, I'll have to agree with that. Wherever you put him in the back line, he's performed extremely well.
22 appearances for the Green Machine, in which that included 12 tries, 5 try assists, 9 from 13 goals converted, 138 tackle breaks, and 3,627 running meters, or roughly 3.6 kilometers.
Yeah.
And the fact, because he was getting shifted from left to right back to left, winger to center, to fullback, back to center again. I think that's the way it went.
Something like that, yeah.
And then he ended up back on the wing.
And with goal-kicking duties as well.
He didn't do too bad with the boot.
No, he was actually really good. I'm not
considering he had the problem of Jared Croker missing for a large part of the season, having only made 12 appearances all year, the Raiders skipper.
That's not good at all when he's trying to cut down a record.
Rapana is despite not reaching the heights of Leipana as it was back in 2016, he still performed well. Waiting for the majority of the season, then shifted the fullback for every game after around 19, apart from the last round where he was at centre. Shifted to, of course.
What the hell? But he's capable of doing it. And now we've seen, and they've got a, what you could say, player that can be kind of like a starting utility around the back line, you could say.
Well, speaking of starting utilities, unfortunately, the Green Machine lost one in the off-season, with Bailey Simonson departing to join the Parramatta Eels. Other departures, of course, we touched on Ryan James departing for the Brisbane Broncos, Saliba Havili linking up with the grand finalists in the Rabbitohs. Curtis Scott was intended to meet up with the Parramatta Eels, but unfortunately, New South Wales Police don't see it that way. Caleb Aikens made it across to the Lee Centurions. Darby Medlin and Dynamis Louis just simply released, unconfirmed of where they're going next. George Williams, of course, left for the Warrington Wolves mid-season, and Kai O'Donnell left for the Sharks mid-season. Adam Cook also yet to confirm his next destination, with Sia Soliola retiring at the end of last season.
Yes. But with all the losses, they've only made a massive, I could say massive, 4 signings.
A key signing in there. Yes. You're right. It is Jamal Fogarty.
Jamal Fogarty from the Titans.
You got Nick Cottridge returning after 1 year at the Canterbury Bulldogs. Peter Holler coming for the North Queensland Cowboys. Adam Elliott joining Cottridge from Canterbury to Canberra. And a Kiwi prospect, Stanley Iongi, from the Brisbane Tigers, also picked up.
Yes, I did miss on that one, but he's a real talent coming through there.
Well, we'll be very interested to see how he is developed. But Fogarty, for me, is the big one.
What a half combination of Whiten and Fogarty is going to be in this season.
It's no secret Jack Whiten had a quiet 2021 after a brilliant 2020 season.
Yes, but that is true.
It was symptomatic amongst all the Raiders' best players, whether it be Hodgson, Papali'i, or even Jack Whiten.
Yeah. But now you got Fogarty there, who we know what he's capable of, because he did take
the meteoric rise of Jamal Fogarty from part-time halfback in 2020, established halfback in 2021,
plus got captaincy for a few rounds,
capable goal kicker in his own right.
Yes,
and I'm left sitting there and thinking, what the bloody hell have the Titans done?
Yeah,
what have they done? They've just let their best halfback walk out and right into the hands of Ricky Stewart.
Yeah. Not a good move by the Titans. They don't want to be a dominant force in the NRL and get them.
This is a huge boost for the Raiders, the way I see it. It's absolutely huge.
I 100% agree. I don't know what got Fogarty down there, but man, I was keeping a very close eye on him throughout the 2021.
Well, the way I read it, a 25-minute phone call with Ricky Stewart where he said, he just talked to me straight and was like, I like your words, Sticky. I want to play for you. That's it. It's simply a 25-minute phone call where Sticky didn't bullshit for 25 minutes straight. And Fogarty's just like, I like this philosophy. I want to play for you. And that was that.
Pen to paper, and now he's down there.
Now, starting round 1 up against the Cronulla Sharks. Sharks in the nation's capital on a cold Friday night. Well, they've had a good run against the Sharks, so you'd want to back them in here.
Yeah, you would, and having the home crowd in the first time in months, you could
Viking
say.
clap. Yes. Viking clap's going to be absolute magnificent atmosphere. Yeah, then a trip to Townsville to face the Cowboys. Should get up in that game. I would think. Should get up.
That. Yeah, agree.
Back at home again. This time I'm hosting the Titans, who on last occasion absolutely steamrolled them 44-6.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game to watch, isn't it?
That's going to be a square-up game right there.
Most definitely.
And then the major oofs in these first 5 rounds. Manly at Mudgee in round 4 before travelling out to Wagga Wagga to play the Melbourne Storm.
Oh.
So those are going to
So
be
one, so the Wagga Wagga game is
a Raiders home
technically
game.
the Raiders home game, and I presume the other one at Mudgee is a
Yep.
Manly home game.
But either way, if they don't play well, they're going to be two massive Fs.
Yes. Well, the one against Melbourne, I'm going to say, is going to be in favour of Melbourne.
The
And the
more
one that
stars in the park, the Cheese, Harry Grant, Cameron Munster, Cameron Munster's white bag. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
No, you're not wrong. Oh dear.
Anyway,
And I guess Manly with all their stars too. Yeah, I think
provided
they're
they,
definitely.
as long as they ensure that Tom Trbojevic doesn't have a kneecap or two, they should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Manly and Melbourne will win their respective games against Canberra at Mudgee and Wagga Wagga.
Now, look, what do the Raiders need to succeed in 2022? Well, to be fair, they were crippled in the spine, which is never good. Never good when your best fullback is missing for a large chunk of the year, and your halfback gets homesickness and then bails on you.
Yes.
Point blank. They just didn't recover, and then the losses just compounded. So you have all three of those factors rolling in. It was just snowballing.
Yeah. And the pressure is building on Ricky Stewart.
And I mean, there's a lot of rookies at the Raiders that are looking to unseat some of the established players. I think Xavier Savage, for instance, provided he actually doesn't make an illegal substitution this time.
Mm-hmm.
Sebastian Chris, I really think he's one of the best in the back line for centre positions.
He's going to get minutes.
He's going to start.
Yeah.
I really like what I saw from Sebastian Chris, who had some time out of the game, came back, and I think he looked very well.
Yes.
Matt Tomoko will be an interesting one. Probably pressure on Croker. If not, he might be that outside back utility Ricky likes to carry.
Yep.
Not missing anyone, am I?
Don't think so.
Of course, Fogarty slides straight into where Williams would have been. George, not Sam.
Yes.
Cottridge, he'll probably take his spot back on the left flank and Arpanar on the right. Adam Elliott probably on the bench, middle forward, edge forward, whatever Ricky needs out of him.
Yep.
Provided he can steer clear of bathrooms he's not meant to be in.
You're on fire today, man. But it's true. Yet again, it's true.
I'm just. My mind is working in overdrive. Like, I wouldn't just say, "Hey, just trying to find some snarky comment to make."
And they've definitely done that twice in the one team. Yeah.
Hey, what can I say? Hey, I'm trying to be humorous.
Yes, I know. And
I'm trying to achieve comedy.
It's working well, if you ask me. Anyway, back on track. And then Peter Holler, he'll probably, you reckon, come off the bench as well? Yeah.
Forward depth. If Gula starts, and then you'll probably have Ryan Sutton and Hudson Young on the bench as well.
Yeah. But then...
my big problem is, if Hodgson goes down and no one knows what's going on with Tom Starling, they could be in a bit of trouble.
Well, yeah, because Feely's not there anymore, and he was in the side when Hodgson was out, and Starling.
I don't think we've actually gotten an update on what's going on with Tom Starling, do we?
No, it's been a while. It's gone a bit quiet on that, so...
Well, that could be very concerning if they don't know what's going on with Tom Starling, considering he is the backup dummy half for Hodgson.
Well, then who's the backup dummy half now? Because it was Starling and Havili, but now Havili's not there. Well, then who's next?
No idea. And I don't think they're going to really want to throw Ionge into the fire and the furnace early.
No. You wouldn't think so, but they might have to if it's allowed, mind you.
Oh, wait a minute.
But yeah,
And it's
got
Sydney Morning Herald from October. I think that might be the best place to look. What the 9 newspapers last reported could probably give us a hand.
I'm just gonna say they've got massive dummy half depth issues this season. With Hodgson there, and we don't know about Starling.
Last we heard, he was granted conditional bail and he was due to appear at Gosford Local Court on the 11th of January. Since then, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing.
So either the court date got changed or it's still going on, but I got moved to another court case had to happen at a later date, which is unspecified if that is the case. Although I'm reading an out-of-date article like you on the Sydney Morning Herald.
It's the only update we do have. We don't have anything else.
No, we seriously don't. Anyway, we'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, that's all we can and do for the moment. But yeah, I think not getting crawled over in the spine is the big thing. And well, I think Fogarty was a very good acquisition for the Raiders, I should say.
Yeah.
I was about to say Titans, but he left the Titans.
No, I'd say that's the best sign.
Playing behind that Green Machine pack, I mean, if Papali'i and Hodgson get their games right, which I think they will, and I think we'll see more out of Tarpany, Hawiranira, and co. I really don't see any reason why not the Raiders can make it.
But how many times has that been said since I've made a grand final? Just slipped down the ladder at the wrong time of year, though.
I'm expecting a bit of a bounce back. They didn't think they were up to standard, and I probably agree with that.
Yeah.
As long as if they can stay together for 70, 85% of their games, I think they'll play the finals. Now, of course, Canberra did finish last year in 10th. I'm going to say I think they can and turn it around, but they're not on the same page as the top 6 teams in the league at the moment. And I think of course, that's Melbourne, Penrith, Manly, the Roosters, the Eels, and the Rabbitohs. They are the best 6 teams. I don't think they are up to that same standard. So I'm going to say they finish 7th on the ladder.
Nah, the pressure's coming on Ricky Stewart. I've said that a few times now when we're talking about the Raiders. And it's just going to get added on and on and on and on. It's going to be hard to get a read like that. Like I said, with the Broncos, that mid-pack is so tight. Who knows? I got a feeling this might be Stickies. If they can't make the finals this season, this might be Stickies last at Canberra. If they don't make the finals.
Calling Shane Flanagan. There is a head coaching role available.
Possibly. So I'm going to say they're going to move up in one spot and finish 9th in 2022.
So you think they finish 9th, and the Shane Dar will be tuned in looking for the Raiders.
Well, I don't know who, but he'll be top of the list. But I'd say if Ricky doesn't put them in the finals, he's gone.
All right, one that says falling just short of the finals, and the Shane Dar sending Ricky Stewart out of there with Flano coming in. And the other says bounce back into the top 8, but not on the same level as the top 6.
Yeah.
So that as you will. Now,
can I just laugh
the Canterbury Bulldogs.
You must have just shut up and let me deal with the gossiping.
All right, let's see how well you can assess how we went.
I can't say it because they went horrible. Shit, everything. They got the wooden spoon, which was absolutely funny because as everyone knows, it's Connor's team, and I like to roast the hell out of him. Although it wasn't funny on the Queen's birthday match week.
Oh, no, I found it absolutely hilarious, especially that last 40 minutes.
Yes.
But yes.
That's the only
One
thing
word for the Broncos last year, I said diabolical. For the Bulldogs, pain.
Yeah.
Absolute pain.
Yep. And
It
was
was
funny to watch you go through it all.
Yeah. Thanks. When you're getting towed up at the worst 66-0 by the Tom Trebojevic show at Brookvale.
That was hilarious. The Bulldogs sort of just forfeited
to getting smacked around by Penrith, getting smacked about by the Broncos, getting smacked about by the Rabbitohs,
and the Tigers,
getting smacked around by Melbourne, even when Luke Thompson did come back. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Smacked around by Parramatta.
Basically,
Rabbitohs smacked us around.
Basically, against the whole competition instead of Sharks, Tigers, and Dragons.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how I summed it up.
But what was that performance against the Tigers at the last round?
Oh, I savored that. I absolutely savored that performance.
What the hell got into him then? Like, seriously.
No pressure. Simple as that.
There wasn't even pressure to get off the bottom of the ladder to avoid the wooden spoon because you were that far behind the Cowboys. You still, even if you did win, you still would have got off the bottom.
Well, we know what we did get off the bottom. Selling speakers on eBay. I'm fucking terrible at this, aren't I?
Yeah, but hey.
I should probably stop.
You're making jokes about your own team, which is what I like. Not many people make jokes about their own team.
Yeah, but you wouldn't do the same thing, you chicken shit.
Probably not.
So there you go. Fortunately, I'm here.
Because I can't think of anything good.
Actually cook a good barbecue without getting caught.
Okay.
There you go. There you go.
We'll get back to that in 3 weeks' time.
Les chef's kiss for that roast.
We'll get back into that in 3 weeks' time.
Now, we did finally get that win to finish on a good note, but yeah, not good. Even at the back end in Queensland against the Rabbitohs and the Sharks, I suppose you could even say against the Roosters before we left. Getting there, but like the Broncos, no polish.
No. None whatsoever. And another coach that'll be under pressure is Trent Barrett.
Yes. Now, for the best player for the Dogs, I've gone with two because I have editorial powers.
And you're biased.
Editorial powers. We'll go with that.
No, I'm going to go with biased.
I say editorial, okay? Okay. So anyway, the first player I'm going to say is Luke Thompson. Had a bit of problem dining out with the judiciary a bit too much. Carried it over from last year when he fought. Yeah, I'm not going to go any further on that. I'm just going to say eye gouging and high shots did not play out well for him.
Burgess 4.0 maybe? I don't know.
So anyway, in 15 appearances that he did make, he scored 3 tries, 36 tackle breaks, 13 offloads, as well as 2,138 running meters. Probably one of the best boards the Bulldogs had on the park, probably outside of Josh Jackson.
Yeah.
And the one that surprised me the most, Jake Averillo. 21 appearances, 7 tries, 6 try assists, 27 from 34 goals converted, 33 tackle breaks, and 8 line breaks.
Yeah, Averillo was a massive surprise.
I would say, I thought he was actually, I still personally think he is a better centre than a half, but...
he's quite capable, as we now know.
Good goal kicker. I really like his goal kicking.
Yes.
We have a taste for good goal kicking centres. It's just a matter of whether we can hang on to them or not.
Yes, and you should know all about that.
Yeah, so that's who I thought were the standout out in a dire situation.
Now Jack Averillo, though, on a serious note, he was unbelievable. He's giving Oz hopefully plays every game this season coming, and he will be up there again as one of the best Bulldogs players if he stays injury free and gets all the game time. And the halves that were chopping and changing so much at the Dogs, if he was there, he was probably the dominant half, you could say.
Suppose you could, considering it wasn't Carl Flanagan.
Well, no, which is unfair on Flanagan's part.
Anyway, with Gus Gould being appointed general manager and with Trent Barrett finally getting some money to play with, they really put the broom through the place. Some money?
More like a bloody Rooster Sambero. Bloody hell.
Adam Elliott, of course, ended up at the Canberra Raiders, we just touched on. Those still yet to find contracts include Bradley Eats, the school teacher, Dean Britt, James Romanos, Lachlan Lewis, Sione Katoa, the dummy half, not the winger, Tyrone Harding, and Watson Haleta. Amongst the confirmed departures is as well Chris Smith and Christian Crichton, both returned to the Panthers to find their place in the side. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak left for the Warriors mid-2021. Dylan Napa ended up at the Catalan Dragons, with Falakiku Mano ending up at St. George Illawarra. Johnny Siata did join us for a short time, but then he left to play for the Lee Centurions. And Nick Meaney ended up at the Melbourne Storm. Nick Kotrich returning home to the Canberra Raiders. Of our talented young forwards, Ofahiki Ogden has joined the Parramatta Eels on a trade and trial deal, with Red Offer Tony ending off at the Sydney Roosters. Talk about the salary sombrero there. And Will Hopewati inking up with St. Helens.
But their gains are absolutely massive. Matt Byrne from the Penrith Panthers, Josh Adokar from the Melbourne Storm, Brent Naden also from the Panthers, Matt Duffy and Paul Vaughan from the Dragons. Better not be no barbecue happening there. Pangai Jr. from Brisbane via Penrith, Josh Cook from South Sydney Rabbitohs, Max King from Melbourne Storm, Braden Burns from South, and Reese Hoffman from the West Tigers.
As on top, unconfirmed reports that Jacob Karaz, the Lebanese international, has also linked up with the club from the Newcastle Knights, although I think they might have actually been locked in. But you're right about Reese Hoffman.
Yes. But mind you, Burton, Adokar, Naden, Duffy, Vaughan, Pengai, bloody hell.
Best recruitment drive, and I'm telling you, I think this time, I can dare to dream of good times ahead.
Yeah, like, wow. When I first heard about Adokar, I was like, oh, come on, are you serious? Then you added Burton, Naden, Pangai on top of that, as well as Vaughan and Duffy.
Getting lucky with a couple of Dragons rejects because...
Yes. Well, okay, barbecue gate happened, so that was a fair call. Duffy's a bit unfair. But, like, come on, six massive signings. I cannot believe it.
And most of them slide into the top 17 already. Now, the first 5 rounds, mixed bag. A trip to Townsville to face the Cowboys. Should win that.
Well, yeah.
Back home against the Broncos. I think we've got both know which way that's going. And here's going to be the massive, and because I have editorial powers, I'm going to include round 6 as well, because editorial powers. Round 3, a trip to All Pines Park against Manly. So, can we get the snipers on Tommy Turbo?
Well, I don't know. With the split that you guys have, it's a potential upset brewing.
Round 4,
based on 2024.
Round 4, a Sunday afternoon against the Melbourne Storm. So that could turn. So that one. And our round 5 clash against the Penrith Panthers and Good Friday clash against the Rabbitohs. They could all turn into massive Fs.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, with the signings you guys have made, the Dogs have made, I should say, not you guys, but anyway, based on 2021 form, it's going to be hard to beat. But looking at the team on paper, it's a possibility that you can beat the teams like Melbourne, South, and
We play the
Roosters.
first two rounds. We played the two teams that finished above us on the ladder.
Everyone finished above you on the ladder.
Yeah, shut up. And then the next month, it's the whole top four and the grand final sides we've got to play.
Yes.
The whole top four. But hey, the good news is we only have to play Melbourne once, and we don't have to play Penrith at the back end of the year. So that's good news. It's only the Rabbitohs and Manly got to worry about. And then throw the Roosters and Eels on top of that. But Melbourne and Penrith are the big two, who we don't have to worry about at the back end of the year, unlike some of us.
Yeah, be quiet. No, but it's seriously good. Get the hard-hitting teams, like top teams, like you said, Penrith and Melbourne, out of the way early in the season. Don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year, and you can go about your business without coming up against a stiff opposition.
It'd be very interesting to see how well we can go in 2022. But I mean, just because we get all these players coming in doesn't mean it's going to translate immediately to success. It takes time. These
not.
things.
Exactly.
You'd want to dare to dream that you can have a better year than the last 5 you had.
Yes. And this year looks like it. I believe it could be a year where the Dogs could go deep into the finals.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I seriously don't know about that.
Not the grand final, but deep into the finals, I would say.
Well, Burton and Addo Carr will be the two players under the most amount of pressure. Burton has already been on the record to say, I can handle the pressure and the tag of being the Bulldogs' saviour.
Look how well he did when Cleary and Luai were out with origin duties. He stepped up.
Whilst losing both the games that were origin affected.
Yes, but the performance is not... Well, even when Cleary and Luai were back, he's like an extra half on the field when Cleary and Luai were there. One of
the games in centres that have been recognised as the best in their position for that year.
Yes. And much deservedly so. Pangai is going to be a big bolster to the forward
Hetherington and Thompson. It could be, but it could also be a big downfall because these are guys that really have gotten used to dining out with the judiciary on a Tuesday night.
Yes. So they really need to crack down on their own discipline.
So I think that's where not just Gus, but I think where Big Willie Mason comes into this.
Yes,
some right proper mentors, or that really keeps them in line. I think in getting Gus in there, I think that could play a very big role in there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Gus knows exactly what he is talking about, and we all know that. He might be biased at some parts, but he knows what he's talking about.
So I think for Canterbury, the equation is as simple as win more games.
Yes, and that might be hard to do with the amount of wins you guys had.
And it could be the case that the back end could really yield something out of it.
I reckon mid-pack of the table, you need to watch out big time.
Last year, of course, the Dogs finished last on the ladder.
And got a wooden spoon to mix their souls into a big pot, yes.
Yeah, the ingredients are choking dragon, weak tiger, and sushi.
Yep. Yeah,
so that shut you up then.
Well, you could say, yeah. And with that wooden spoon, you can't use it at a barbecue, unfortunately. Although Paul Wall might find a way to do that. Anyway.
We're going to be much, much better than what we were in 2021, but we're still, I think within 6 years, we will be the premiers.
Oh, that's a big call coming from.
I think we will. I honestly think we will. You throw Reed Marnie and you throw Big Viliami Kickow in there.
Yes, because you got them two coming in. Yes.
I am smelling Premiership number 9.
I forgot about Reed Marnie.
Within the 2020s.
Coming in.
Premiership number 9 before 2030.
It is doable thinking about it, although you need to keep a lot of your plays that you already currently have. So, and stop changing your bloody halves around.
I think we might actually settle for once, but it's going to be a long road, but I'm going to bloody love the reward at the end of it. So last year, 16th. This year, I say they'll finish 10th.
I'm going to go higher than you. I reckon they're going to make the finals and finish in 6th. They have got the team on paper. I'm very happy with their signings. And with looking forward into 23, they've got, like you say, Marnie and Kickout coming in. Wow, they're going to be a strong force this year, and I'll build on that as the years progress through. And I might actually have to agree with you there. I do see them win the premiership by 2030.
It's a realistic goal.
I don't agree with you often much about the Bulldogs, but I actually have to agree with you on this time round. So savour it while it lasts.
Well, you'll be on record, so I'll just play it back when I feel like it.
Yeah.
And finally, of the NRL teams to look at, we have the Cronulla Sharks. Well, the Sharks.
Yeah.
Kind of a rocky year.
Just a little bit, you could say.
So first, they had a Morris, and then they didn't.
Yes.
Let's just say things didn't play out too well for good old John, but
which I still find very unfair.
It's a cutthroat business, to say the least.
I know it is. I know, but I still feel like the way that he got shafted out of there was not the right way to go about it.
I don't get it in the fact that they sacked Morris after the round 5 loss to the Roosters, and then they lost another 4 games after that when Josh Hannay took over. Well, actually, another 5.
Yeah.
They lost another 5 games after cutting Morris. So I would just be like, me big brain, I'm going to sack my coach. Hope for better results. 5 losing in games later. Big brain didn't work.
No, it certainly didn't.
But what happened after that? After the magic round at Suncorp, I think is practically anyone's guess. How the hell did they turn it around?
Yep. Still figuring it out now. And it's what?
It starts against the Dragons.
No surprises there.
Sean Johnson comes back in.
When? Yes.
Kicks the I think it was Johnson with the field goal. It could have been Townsend.
No, I think it was Townsend.
Oh, it might have been Johnson in another game I'm thinking about. Yeah, no, Townsend in this one. And still missing Sean Johnson. For now.
Please say I'm wrong about that game.
It was the Penrith game. So in about 3 weeks, and within that 3 weeks, the Sharks peel off 4 straight wins, and suddenly they're in the finals conversation again.
Yeah.
From as low as 14th on the ladder, the Sharks, they just peeled off a good month they had, and then they're back in the equation.
It doesn't take much for momentum to swing around.
Yeah, you're right. It did. They had a couple of tough losses to the Warriors and to the Knights from very winnable positions.
Yes.
And against the Broncos. I mean, who loses the Broncos these days?
No comment.
Yeah. But they were there, and then they weren't. And you're thinking, could Josh Hannay actually deliver the Sharks an unlikely finals berth?
Almost made it, though.
Almost made it.
It comes down to the last game of the season.
It literally did. The last round. And in all the key games, of course, the Storm up against the Sharks. The Sharks up against the Storm, and then the Titans hosting the Warriors. And, of course, Sharks and the Warriors missed out, and the Titans made it. So it came pretty close.
The Raiders are in amongst the mix too. Same with the Knights. Oh no, the Knights were sealed. They were locked in with a round to go. So yeah. No, but it was very intense stuff. Like for the teams involved, like you mentioned, to try and make it 8. It was very, very tense and good footy to watch as well. You think, oh, what's going to happen next? It comes down to the last whistle, like a previous said.
And that's what you want. You want to see who can stand up when it matters most, like you said, at the final whistle. And unfortunately, Cronulla didn't.
No, but in all honesty, if they did make it, they wouldn't have gone that far in. Although that might have, like at the time, I thought, oh yeah, if they make it, they're not going to go very far. But thinking about it now, they might have gone like maybe into the second week.
If they made it to the semi-finals, I would say they would have overachieved.
Yeah.
But plain and simple, they would have overachieved if they made it.
Yes, but it didn't happen.
And no questions on who the stand-up player for the Sharks was this last year. It was Will Kennedy.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
24 appearances, 14 tries, 14 try assists, 62 tackle breaks, and 15 line breaks, and a back three of Kennedy, Katoa, and Mulatalo.
Yeah, they were unstoppable.
Very good back three there. A couple of adjustments they've had to make with the roster. Josh Dugan entering retirement.
Which I kind of did see happening.
Stopped no one ever.
Because really, he was heavily out of favour. No one wanted to sign him because of all the off-field dramas he had.
Sean Johnson returns home to the Redcliffe Dolphins.
Yes.
Will Chambers decides, you know what? At my age, I want to go and play rugby in the United States. And so, signs up with LA Rugby. Aaron Woods departs for St. George Illawarra.
Bad signing.
Heavenly noises.
I'm not happy with that signing, but anyway.
And rather disappointingly, well, first we got to touch on Chad Townsend, who joins the Cowboys via the Warriors, leaving mid-2021. But for me, the rather disappointing loss, Billy Maguglia sending up at the Warrington Wolves.
Yeah.
Just underused by the Sharks. I just think a point to offer, and they just didn't really use him that well.
No. And he's got it in him. We know what he's capable of.
Lock forward, dummy half, 5'8".
He's a utility.
It's a big loss.
Yep.
Well,
but
it hurts when you lose a versatile player like that.
Yes. But on the signings front, they've got Cameron McInnes on the Dragons, who'll be looking to have a good season after an ACL. He can play lock or dummy half. Nico Hines on the Melbourne Storm. That's a brilliant signing there because he stepped up to the plate big time in 2021. Dale Finucane. Yes. Dale Finucane from Melbourne Storm, another good signing there. Matt Ikevallo from the Roosters. Miller, I can't remember.
Lockie Miller from the Rugby 7 side.
Yes. And Jaden Beryl,
yeah.
Beryl from Winner Manly in the Queensland Cup.
Yeah, Hines is the big one for the Sharks. Hines and McInnes.
And Finucane. I was going to say the big three signs was McInnes, Hines, and Finucane.
There were 6 clubs all chasing Nico Hines.
Yeah, but it doesn't surprise me.
And he could have been wearing the team colours of, well, probably anyone in Sydney who threw enough money at him. Yeah. But at the end of the day, Craig Fitzgibbon was able to throw enough money at him to say, hey, why don't you come and give the Sharks a try?
And his partner alongside, presumably Braden Trindle.
Oh, it's going to be Trindle in the halves.
Young halves combination. So I presume there will be long-term halves right there.
Oh, hell yeah. They are the long-term.
Trindle and Hines.
They are the long-term choice for the Sharks.
And they're going to go really, really well.
I don't know, because I think anytime a player leaves the Melbourne Storm, you have to think, are they going to be a massive flop? I mean, think of it this way. Suliasi Vunivalu, Marika Korobetti, the Fox is in the same boat as them. Kevin Proctor, Tohu Harris, Jordan McLean. All of them have left the Melbourne Storm in the last 6 years.
Yes.
How many of them have actually succeeded at this point?
Did you add Cooper Cronk to that list?
All right, Cooper Cronk as well, but he was a very noted exception.
But still, he succeeded.
But a lot of players that leave Melbourne don't often go on to succeed at their new club.
True.
Well, I mean, Proctor struggled for 3 years at the Titans with bad form, but in the last two, they've managed to turn it around.
Yeah.
Jordan McLean has fallen off the face of the earth, and he's not going to get $700,000 a year.
No.
Harris, I think, has found a home at lock forward, but injury has crippled him.
Yes.
And as for Vunivalu, there's talks he might want to come back to the NRL. Who knows where? Korobetti. Actually, Korobetti's...
There's talks about him coming back to NRL too, was there?
Half decent with the Wallabies, but yeah. And of course, as you mentioned, Cooper Cronk, who went on to win another 2 premierships with the Roosters. So
back to back.
Yeah. Well, there are more examples, but those are the ones I could rattle off straight away.
Yes,
so
exactly.
That's the big thing. The Fox and Nico Hines are untested of whether they can survive outside the Melbourne Storm structures. I have no doubt Dale Finucane can, but it's a question of whether Hines can.
I'd say he will. He's a good kid. He's got his head screwed onto his shoulders right, and he will do good things at Cronulla.
Well, I think that'll be a wait and see. That funny thing about Finucane McInnes, I think you're signing 2 locks, but really you're signing a front rower who used to play lock and a dummy half who now is a lock.
Yeah. How funny
that could be a big benefit, having McInnes in the middle and letting Blake Brayley just breathe.
Oh, exactly. Because Brayley's got, on his day, he's good, and McInnes will know what he is capable of as well. Until he got his unfortunate ACL injury, so he'll be looking, he's missed a year of football.
Yeah. So he might be a bit slow to get back into the swing of things.
Although he has got the good thing about it is he's got a full preseason under his belt, injury-free. Because some ACLs happen mid-year and they miss some of the preseason. But because he's done it very early on last season, he's got all of last year to recover, so he'll get a full preseason in that Shark. So that will benefit him.
Well, we'll just see how that one pans out right there. Do we even cover the rest of the Sharks pictures? Just trying to think off the top.
No, I don't think we even covered any of them.
Right. No, we haven't. So, the Raiders first up. Wow. Talk about tough draws when you got your bogey side first up. Probably better to get them out of the way first.
Yep.
Now, this is going to be a special one, regardless of the side they're facing, but hosting the Parramatta Eels at PointsBet Stadium for the first time in 3 years. A proper homecoming after the renovations around the Eastern Grandstand Leagues Club end.
Yes. Now, that'll be good to see them back at the traditional home ground, and they can stop using Cogra. So when it's
a Southern Sydney derby for round 3 against St George Illawarra. Highly entertaining, depending.
And that's at Wollongong?
Yep.
Good.
And then back-to-back fixtures at home on April Fool's Day against the Newcastle Knights.
Who's going to get fooled? That was a bad pun. Bad joke.
And Sunday afternoon against the Tigers is, nothing more to say apart from at least they don't have to watch Benji Marshall literally
Yeah. Nah, I'd say the Sharks. I'd say it will be a Sharks victory.
Now, the all-important question is, where do the Sharks fit into the equation? They finished 9th on the ladder last year. Where do they end up?
They're going to be moving up in the ladder, but I've got them finishing 7th. They are going to improve. Hines and Trindle will steer the ship well there and you've got the experienced players like McGuinness and Finucane coming in as well as the already established players at Sharks. Will Kennedy's gonna be one to watch again this season. Like that whole back line, fullback center winners are gonna be very good to watch, and even the whole spine is gonna be really good, full of young kids, which is good to see. And they're going to improve under Craig Fitzgibbon. So, as I already mentioned, they're going to finish 7th.
I'm a bit wary of most first-time coaches because they are unproven. Kevin Walters has had that first-grade experience, but it had been more than 10 years since he took it on.
And the game had changed between then.
Yes, very true. The game had changed. You look at every single new coach.
And he came to a team that had.
But every new coach that has been introduced since 2017, Stephen Kearney, Trent Barrett, 2016. So Trent Barrett, Stephen Kearney, Anthony Seibold. There's one I think I'm missing here.
John Morris, he was a new
John
coach.
Morris, yeah. John Morris is another one. Todd Payton. Yep, Todd Payton's another one right there.
Yeah.
How many of them actually succeeded? Well, I mean, Morris succeeded, obviously, but they don't do very well. And they often end up getting the sack afterwards.
Well, Seibold did take South into the finals in his first year.
Yeah, with Maguire's squad. That wasn't necessarily his.
I know, but he's still first year, though. He made the finals. So they only went to Brisbane and did shit. But based on what we're going to say, Walters, the game had changed between when he was last coach and now. And he was coming to a Brisbane side that was just well underperforming.
Well,
in all honesty. So that was a bit of out of his control a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. That's
I think
what I reckon.
It is a massive wait and see, and I'm not necessarily convinced. Even though he served a very good apprenticeship, I think the Sharks are going to do particularly well, especially with the sides improving around them, like the Bulldogs and the Broncos. So from 9th, I say they're going to fall to as low as 13th on the ladder. I think a lot of questions about Nico Hines, and I don't think they're going to be answered straight away.
There you go. Two completely different views.
Now, a couple of quick things before we jump off. The rule amendments that have occurred during the week, mainly regarding the 6 again rule, where now, if it's inside your own 40-meter line, it's a penalty rather than 6 more tackles. And amongst the other changes, a free interchange to be granted where the offending player is sin-binned or sent off, and a player has fallen a foul play, really, that a free interchange will be awarded. Team lists going from 21 to 22 players to accommodate the 18th man. And here's the interesting one. Injury stoppages, where only the referee, a touch judge, or the bunker will be allowed to stop play for any reason, barring head injuries, where the trainer can still call time on that.
Yep.
But this is sort of in response to the Panthers' semi-final win over the Eels, where...
Oh, yes, it is.
So now the referee, the touch judge, and the bunker have the ultimate authority to stop for an injury, but where head injuries are concerned, the trainers can still come and stop it. So
which
It'll be
is
interesting to
a
see how
good
that
thing
one pans out.
Well, it's good that they still allow the trainers to stop the play with the head knocks. That's the good thing.
Provided they're not
Because we know what.
provided they're not on the receiving end of charge downs.
Well, yes, but that rule when only the touch judge, the referee, and the bunker with anything else, that is definitely in the wake of the Panthers' drama in semi-finals against Parramatta, which I still believe Parramatta should have won.
Well, we both do.
That was tactical. Yeah, well, that's what that move by Penrith was tactical, big time.
Oh no doubts about it. Parramatta would have won that if they didn't stop the clock for Kenny, and they would be facing Melbourne in the prelim, and who knows where the grand final could have ended up. But
well, exactly. But
at the end of the day,
been there.
Penrith won. They're the premiers, so not much more we can say on that front.
Yes. You know, you still not being.
So, what do we reckon of the changes?
Okay, so I reckon with the 6-again rule gone from inside the 40-metre line, there's going to be a lot more penalty goals taken in 2022. It's slowing the game down that slight notch.
As long as it doesn't go to that ridiculous time back in 2018 when it was average between the Good Friday matches, an average of 27 penalties a game. As long as we don't go back to that territory,
true.
I think it'll be fine.
But in saying that, I've seen a lot more penalty goals. We could see a lot of teams still adapt to 6 again, somewhat 6 again style, and do the quick tap, which it still allows them to tap the ball quick and run at the defensive line when the defensive line is trying to get back onto the 10 meters, if that makes sense. So it could work either way.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I really like the idea of allowing only the referee, the bunker, and the touch judges to stop the game for injuries.
Yeah.
I think we'll see less milking of that rule big time.
Oh, yes. And adding in the 22nd man, you can't put 18th man is another good move as well. You got a bit more, you got that one extra play depth in case something does happen.
Yeah, well, I suppose we'll see how they go. As long as the NRL doesn't continuously try and change rules, I think settle down and then try and export the product elsewhere.
Yeah. No, but the biggest one is what we both agree on is the referee, touch judge, and bunker stopping play for any injuries other than head knocks where trainers can stop the play.
Oh, no bones about it.
That is a massive rule change.
No bones about it.
That's the biggest rule change. Biggest rule change heading into this upcoming season and beyond.
And finally, as we were talking about, we'll cover more of the Betfred Championship this year, despite it being NRL centric. We'll throw in a little bit of championship action because, we sort of have to until we get back on the Super League in the future. Featherstone Rovers coming out on top in their opening fixture against the York City Knights, 30-12. What do we make of that?
Well, as Mr. Houlay said on our exclusive 2-on-1 Facebook interview, so check that out if you haven't listened to it already. He did say Featherstone Rovers will step up this year. And what do you know? In the cup tie, they've come out and I wouldn't say destroy York, but
this wasn't a cup tie. This was the opening match of the championship.
Oh, well, there you go. I'm sorry. My apologies there. But yeah, hey, good way to start it.
Yeah, I found the defense of York stood firm for 20 minutes, but I think the moment Featherstone got that taste, and really between Chris Clarkson and Matty Marsh, defending on that left edge, Featherstone just made that look easy early on between Morgan Smith and Jack Bussey, Josh Hardcastle and Luke Briscoe added on in the second half, and Featherstone's defence was almost perfect in the second half, despite letting Will Chubb ill in his way from dummy half. I think that was the only sour notes on Brian McDermott's first game in charge of Featherstone.
But it's a good start for him, so hopefully it's the sign of things to come. I know you can't read into teams too much in the first game of the season, but it's a brilliant start.
There are concerns for Featherstone, though. They did lose Jesse Seni Lafayette during that game as he went down with injury. But I've got to say, Craig Hall, absolute golden knight, scored a try, 5 from 5 goals converted, and 500 career goals he passed in that fixture against York City.
Good on him. Absolutely good on him, and congratulations to him.
Also, interesting comments York coach James Ford made about Connor Jones of the Featherstone side, saying he's in the wrong league.
Okay.
He reckons he's too good for the championship and should instead be playing in the Betfred Super League.
Well, it's a matter of who signed him up. It's depending where he goes. Like, if there's no contract offers in the Super League, where else is he supposed to play?
Well, I think that's the question, isn't it? But it's only round 1, so we'll see how it goes moving forward. So, but for me, a good start for Featherstone, but York really need to work on their defence.
And they'll probably do that as the season progresses on, hopefully.
Because, I mean, you had the 2 tries from Jack Bussey and from Morgan Smith early on, and then he got tangled up with Luke Briscoe and Josh Hardcastle, or just Jeff Emming and allowing Hardcastle and Briscoe to get over the tries.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 things I'd need to say about York, but all in all, Brian McDermott should be happy if he can win Featherstone fans over after his comments he made a couple of years back about them.
Well, yeah, that's going to be a hard thing for him heading into this season, but so far I don't like to say one game, but so far a good start. And he might be starting to win the fans back slightly.
If he gets in the Super League, I'll say Brian McDermott has won all of Featherstone over.
I was pretty much thinking along the same lines. So there we go. Great minds think alike.
All right. Well, that is full time from us on this Wednesday night. If you like this edition of the Sideline Chat, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the chat, and click that bell for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Don't forget to follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, Sideline Chat or Facebook and Instagram, Sideline Chat RL for Twitter, using the hashtag Sideline Chat RL or Sideline Chat YT. Hope you enjoyed this installment. Next week, where do the Titans go without Jamal Fogarty? Can Manly work the magic of Tom Trebojevich's hamstring? Is Bellyache going to give it up, or is he just going to hang around? And where do the Warriors go but back to the future? Along with Mark Henry, I am Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat. We'll see you next week.
See you later.